Hello friends, and welcome back to the Mess Hall. We're here with the second installment of our book club, still focusing on the Warhammer 40k universe with Book 2 in the Horse Heresy, False Gods by Graham McNeill. Enjoy a bit more structured discussion, and if you're watching on YouTube, enjoy some mini painting as well. Let's get started.
All right. Welcome in, folks. Welcome into the stream. Welcome to the Mess Hall Hangout. We are doing our second episode of our book club. This is... Actually, I'll have to go ahead and put up some labels by everybody's names, but we've got V8. We've got our good friend Squandered Octopus. We have Annie on film, who will be painting for us tonight. Last time it was Dies Often. Tonight it's Annie. And we have the ever-vigilant Kiki. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Some new faces that we're very excited to have.
Yeah, we actually had Kiki was supposed to be here last week. Last month, she fell asleep. We're happy that she could stay awake for us this time. I did have to tell him. But you know what?
People deserve to know.
We're gonna be having a different cast of folks on here, I think, every time, and that's great. We're going to have some different people talking and a lot of different input. Give me 1 second to finish putting labels up, and we'll go from there.
I would like to start just by asking Aaron, how did you get involved, or like, what's your history with Warhammer, if you don't mind?
I have no history, really. I've never played it, or really, I just started reading it randomly because I saw somebody on Instagram post about like that they were taking a trip, and I saw these books on the table, and I looked up what they were, and they looked interesting. So then
That's really cool. I only ask because you popped in to be a part of the book club, and I was like, I had no idea I've known you for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And like, is this a secret hidden passion?
No.
No, like you're discovering it like me. Like I too, like by suggestion. Somebody was reading it and like, oh, what's this about? So that's kind of cool.
And it's somebody that I don't even know. It's like a gaming journalist who I just follow for fun. But Kiara has played it quite a bit through her life, and so she's kind of told me about it.
I can't do it passively. We'll do it live.
It's really cool. Like, I don't play, I just paint. But
do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Sorry about that.
Fucking thing sucks!
If I'm not getting interrupted by Bill O'Reilly, I don't want to be interrupted.
Like, wait a minute.
I always forget that's there. Thank you, General Annoyance. All right.
Well, I think that's pretty neat. Like, there's still like a new, like, because most of us are fairly still like new to this, and it's unfortunate this time we don't have Dies or Telos, because they're like, Dies has been playing this game for like, I don't know, like 10 years.
Forever.
Yeah. Thought that was cool.
And I assume there's like 100% crossover between playing and absorbing the lore in some way. Like, I don't think there's people who like only play the game and don't know anything about the lore.
There are. It's just not as common.
Probably.
Yeah. Yep. There's another podcast I watched where the whole thing started because they both were playing, and one guy's like, I don't know anything other than the names of these units. And
I
so
always
his friend is like
imagine-
teaching him all the lore on podcasts 1 week at a time.
I'm so lore hungry that it doesn't cross my mind to like not learn about like what I'm playing or something, you know?
Yeah.
Fair.
That's just me.
Yep. I went the other way. I started with lore stuff, and now I'm working my way towards probably painting minis, even though I'm trying to resist.
Dice says he's been playing closer to 20 years.
Oh, wow.
20 years. I don't want to say 20 and like have anyone be offended. But yeah.
Maximus has decided to join us. Welcome in, Maximus.
Oh, perfect. Oh, look at him on his pillow.
Beautiful.
Right?
So
Right.
cute.
All right. Do you want to get us started going through your document with your questions and your outline, Annie?
Yeah. So, just to keep on track because these books are so dense. I have an outline. If you want to pull it up, you can totally pull it up. If not, that's cool too. But so part 1, what we're after, book 1. So we are, we stole the weapon, and we're off to Davin, the planet Davin, because Erebus told us to go there. Where we meet up with Erebus and the word bearers on Davin, thought to have become brought to compliance 6 decades ago. We are also introduced to Petronella Vivar, who's that bougie documentarist.
I love it. I love it. Bougie.
She's so bougie. And then it's revealed that the planet's governor, Hemba, has turned against the Imperium. And upon hearing that, Horus flips his lid and orders an immediate attack. Like, he didn't even take a breath, and he's just like, we're gonna go get this guy, because how dare he oppose the Imperium.
Well,
No,
Loken,
he said, "How dare they oppose me?"
yeah, I mean. So Loken is still, he was suspicious in the first book. He's still getting more suspicious. And he believes Erebus to be manipulating Horus.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And then he also thinks that there's more to the invasion. It's not just a moon invasion. Like, there's more to it than that. So along with the sons of Horus, 3 Titans, and Erebus's word bearers, they go to Davin, but they can't find any of Temba's ships.
All right. So pause there.
Mhm.
Pause there. All right. So, like, there's a lot of key things I think that went on in the first section right there. And it felt really important, because they brought the poet Ignatius to the forefront again, right? Because he kind of played, in the first book, there was a section where you thought he died because he got the shit kicked out of him, and then later on you find out, okay, he survived, and Loken is sort of looking out for him, but also respects him for telling the truth. And then here at this point, Ignatius actually gets to see, I think, Horus in the flesh for the first time, and has a hard time focusing on the task Loken gave him, which is to pay attention to Erebus, watch what Erebus says. But
There's
even
something
then,
funky.
yeah, but he never told him Erebus. He just said, I want you there and I want you watching. He didn't tell him why. And so Ignatius immediately picked up on Erebus. So it's almost like anybody who's not swept up in the moment can plainly see that Erebus is up to no good, right?
He's a shady motherfucker.
Yeah, he's manipulating.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the same drive that all the Astartes do either, to constantly be focused on fighting, and they're at a war council, so they're all thinking about, let's go kill somebody, and he's able to pay more attention to what's going on, which is the whole reason that Loken invited him.
I thought the interesting part was when he interrupts, and I was like, oh shit, Horus is gonna just go insane and do something to him for interrupting him. But no.
Yeah, I was surprised that didn't happen either, because they kind of wrote it to make it seem like that would happen.
Yeah,
him
Erebus is
interrupting
gonna
them.
get punished.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, I hope he does something, and then
just kill Erebus now. Let's get it over with.
100%. Hate
It would
this guy.
have changed the whole rest of the fucking books, but I think the other part is that Loken mentions pretty early on, like that the whole trip to Davin, like Horus was not himself. He was keeping Erebus like as his company, but not the Mournival. And so when this happened, like up to this point, we know that Horus like likes to play political games. He likes to like play the crowd. Hi, lady. Hi, Hemp. Welcome in. We know that Horus is into manipulation as well,
manipulator, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So
it's like he has a high charisma roll. Like,
yes, this dude is rolling like max charisma. Period.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. Ugh. Yeah. Well, and then so then the last part of that, part 1, we know that they're getting like a transmission. They're picking up a transmission like they did in the Whisperheads in the first book.
Mm-hmm.
So, already like what the fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, thoughts on the first chapter or the first part?
Yeah, the first, and then I think the other part is like you can see there's this sort of internal battle with Loken the whole time, like because he wants to defend Horus, he wants to defend Horus's honor, but like he's also like this is not right, and so I feel like that's the whole theme of the book is like Loken is like constantly like wanting to do what he thinks is right for Horus, but also wanting to like question things, which was his job in the
moral compass.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It's like he's battling between following like standard operating procedure, like what should be done, and what he thinks is like that actually this probably isn't right.
Right. Well, and like in the first book it goes to tell us like he's like, I am told pretty much what to do and how to feel all the time. So like in the first book he questions his questioning of his feelings.
Yeah he's like should I really be on the Mournival with like the way I question everything? And like everybody's like, yes, that's why we need you on the Mournival, because you do question everything. But we see in this book like his questioning gets just dismissed, which is like I guess like stepping into the next part.
Yeah, which is hard. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, we also have questions that we had been writing, and some of them pertain to this section. So
let's go through those.
Yeah,
I do. I haven't pulled up. Some of them aren't questions. Some of them were just notes I was taking. So yeah. Some
that's fine
like
too.
Imperator class Titans stand 55 meters tall. That's not a question. I felt like looking that up because I wanted to know how big they were.
That's really fucking big. Yeah.
That's big.
So one of the questions that I don't know who added, I don't remember. I think Annie added it, but asked when the weapon arrived on Davin's moon.
Yeah.
And they say at one point they mention that Erebus met up with them on the way there, implying that at some point, we don't know when, but at some point between the last book and then he left. And so he had to have taken it with him then, because he's obviously the one that stole it and knew where it was.
Obviously. So, like, if he went to meet them, I'm curious, and, like, maybe this isn't relevant at all, but, like, how long was he there? How long has he not really been governor, or how long has he been corrupted, Well, Temba.
Yeah, so we're jumping into the next section, which is fine, but I think based on the speed at which the moon turned back to normal, like I don't think he had to be corrupted for very long. Like I think it's pretty the chaos. Yeah, the powers of chaos like could have fucking like reshaped the moon. It feels like in a day.
Yeah, Nurgle seems to transform people pretty quickly. So as long as you're willing to take the power, he's like, all right, let's go.
Let's go.
Anything else? Yeah.
Some of these I don't know that we're going to be able to get answers to, because the people who I was hoping would be able to answer aren't
right.
So like, I wrote down like, are Nemo quills handheld, or do they float and like write telepathically? They don't ever
she
describe
writes I thought they did where like she just uses her mind, and
I think they're telepathic. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because like in the first section, when her servant who has no tongue, like whatever, like
Maggard.
when he's walking away from her, like it just catches the last bit of
that's
his
right.
thought, right? It's
Yep,
just
I
like
forgot.
ding bitch.
Yeah.
Like so it's literally like writing just his thoughts as he's walking away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I
He
wasn't.
was like my favorite character.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Let's see. Another question.
I mean, there is one point
So
at which
how
I think it's
far-
also like writing down Horus's thoughts too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're right, but that's later on.
Sure.
How far into this are we go? I'm trying to these aren't in order, so I'm like looking through trying to find stuff that's still in this section of the book.
I mean, I guess like, does anybody want to talk about anything else before like the descent to the moon? Because I think that's a pretty big step.
Oh, like prior to
Yeah.
landing on the moon. Okay.
Yeah, because like a lot happens right then when they land, and like the whole ship and everything. Like that's
Yeah,
a really
like,
big point. So I want to
things
like
are
say
about to
if
pop
there's
off.
anything else we want to discuss before we get to that, because I think that's going to have some discussion too.
Yeah, I don't think there's
Yeah.
actually a whole lot of importance that happens. It's more just a lot of setup
Okay.
that
Yeah, I
happens
don't really
before
have
they
a lot
land.
to say about part 1, so.
We can go on to part 2, Plague Moon.
The
Mhm.
dramatic part.
Yeah, like
It starts
this
off real
part,
aggressive.
Yeah. This one like really drew me in the description of like the smell and the textures, and like when they touched the bark of a tree and it just like fell off, and I was like, that's absolutely disgusting.
That's where I said none of the book bothered me. This is the parts where it bothered
yeah,
me a little bit with
this
the
part-
description.
Is nasty. Like
This
but like I loved it.
Yeah.
I wrote down on the first time I was listening to it. As soon as he like touched the tree and mentioned all the maggots and stuff inside, I wrote in the thing. I wrote Nurgle makes his first appearance on Devon's moon.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I wrote down
Well-
flesh, meat, innards,
Yeah.
green
Well,
flesh.
disgusting.
I didn't know if they were going to actually like go into it or not. Like, but as soon as they mentioned it, I already knew what was causing all this stuff just from the description. I was like, oh, I know what that is.
Well, there's only so many like Chaos Marine groups, right? And they each have like a thing, and Nurgle's is like rot, right?
That rot, stagnation, disease, pestilence.
Yeah.
And did the voice? So when they're flying into the moon, like Loken's hearing the voice, right? And like that's when he's like he starts freaking out.
That's
Timba.
oh, what's his name? Timba.
It's Timba. Yeah. But does Timba mention Nurgle during that call?
He calls him Nurgleth, which is another name that he goes by.
Okay. So like at that point, we kind of knew, right? Like we kind of like we know.
Yeah.
Okay, shit's about to go down.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing right there, Annie?
Adding
So
grass.
yes, this is
Oh, cute little.
There's
thing.
grass
some-
in Warhammer.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to paint your bases or you're not done.
No.
So,
I've
I
seen a
got-
million bases, and they always have skulls and blood and mud. Grass is a new one.
I threw.
Grass.
Oh no, I didn't throw away the box because I hoard all the things. So this is the kit that I got, which is Battlefield's basing set,
Oh.
which is really cool because then it comes with a little tuft and
What?
attach.
Okay.
The only thing that it doesn't come with is what I did this first base with, and that's mud,
Oh.
and that's it's gonna dry, but it's technical paint is what it's called.
Oh.
And then it's just mud.
Oh, that's cool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And looks gross. Got it. Awesome.
Oh.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
It's really
like mud.
fun.
I thought you just went
then
outside and grabbed some dirt and put a clear coat
You
on top
can.
of it.
Sure, we could.
So that's like the whole thing of like if when you're basing and stuff is like, oh, I could just go get some grass, but like the grass will deteriorate.
Yeah.
And like
Oh, yeah.
it's organic.
you
so
can't
like
use real grass.
Yeah, dirt's different though, because dirt doesn't deteriorate.
Yeah, or dirt and rocks and stuff. So
Yeah.
Hemp says these are looking amazing already, Annie. Di says,
thanks.
I need to get way better at painting to do Nurgle dudes. So gross. And Hemp says, I love that mud.
Yeah.
Oh, that mud.
The Nurgle, all the Nurgle base minis are disgusting looking and super technical looking to paint because they have so many tiny little pustules and nasty things coming off of them that you got to paint that normal things don't. I know.
Yeah.
So we're on on Davin, and these things are coming alive, and immediately I'm like, goddamn zombies again. Like,
well,
you can't escape a world with zombies.
Well, and even before that though, like I think they really set the stage because as soon as they sat down, like Loken's like, fuck, we're not going to be able to see anything here. Like he's like, set up a perimeter and start keeping track of shit because we're going to get lost. It's like he's the only one who's actually like
he's the one who's actually present. Everyone else is like, the fuck, and he's actually like keeping his cool, I guess, to an extent. But then I forgot which character, but there's the one who was like, he fell in and like took a mouthful of this disgusting
Tarek.
Swamp water.
Yeah, Tarek got hit by like some sort of giant beast and knocked under, and I thought, oh fuck, Tarek's dead. Like he's dead.
That's
right
what
there.
I thought too. Yeah.
So Tarek Torgadon, he's one of the Mournival.
Which is funny because that's the one that Loken was like, this doesn't look good. Like when they were going in, he's like, hey buddy, this is rough. And then he is the one who gets effed right away.
Oh yeah. Well, and like they are like, you can see through this section, those two are really tight. Like whatever happened, you know, we don't like somebody gets glossed over, but like ever since they're meeting with what was the race where the Anathane was stolen? Thank you, Annie. Ever since the Interrex, like Torgadon and Loken are tight, and like you can see that here. Like even in this muck, and their like companies are like tight together, right? Whereas like the rest of the groups are all like just spread out doing shit, which is so weird to me. Like wouldn't a military like, you know, company group, whatever, this whole, wouldn't they be more organized? And it feels like they're not at all. They're just like, they're landing just to go fuck shit up. And it's like, is this how?
But I guess
everyone is
kind
in like
operate?
ceremony.
Yeah.
So they operate a little different than a regular military would because it doesn't take nearly as many of them to get a job done as it would a human.
This is true.
Right. So you can send, you know, a group of like 4 or 5 and take out, you know, an entire military of weak dudes.
You just have like one and completely decimate. Like.
Yeah. We got some chat stuff to catch up on. Di says the Stirland mud is one of the really cool ones because when it dries, it still looks wet.
Ooh, that's cool.
And Hemp says you can do similar stuff with the gloss Mod Podge and some cultivated dirt. You still have to take the dirt and sift it and make sure there's no organic stuff in it before you use it. But I've seen lots of diorama artists mix it in and it's phenomenal. Di says the Great Crusade was 90% them absolutely just shitting on regular humans. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Diggle.
Yeah, that's kind of what they do.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there like, I don't know where I read this or where I saw this, so this could have been one of the books or it could have been something else. But wasn't there like there was like one planet where they like worship this one like, I don't know, thing, and every time they worshipped it, like one space marine would show up and like fuck up anything that was like causing problems for them and then leave. Like I remember reading that somewhere. I don't remember where that was though. But yeah, like I mean, literally one space marine like can just ruin shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You probably saw that in the lore video because I feel like I watched the same video recently.
So when you described like I guess, yeah, they don't need to be as organized as like regular people because they're not. But now I'm just thinking like it kind of reflects Horus's rage, where he's just like all over the place. They're all over the place.
And he's been a
I just
little
thought of
wild.
that, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like he's been not all together.
He's been off kilter since the Interrex. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
like
they mentioned that he keeps thinking about that meeting and what went wrong because he doesn't know. Because he doesn't know that Erebus stole the blade and caused all that to go down. He, as far as he was aware, everything was good, and he still can't figure out why everything fell apart. It doesn't make any sense to him, and it's
Why
basically
would somebody
torturing him.
steal something from them if things were going so well? And
Yeah. Well, okay. So moving into the next part, I guess, like when, all right, so swamp opens up, fucking hell sets loose. Loken is like fucking swamped by zombies. Like all the companies lose their shit. The army who's in the back, who's like barely getting through this swamp already, is fucked, right? This whole shit just goes wild. Like how, I don't know, like how does
0 to
zombies
60.
Yeah, how does zombies stop fucking space marines? Because these are people who can just fucking fuck up anything.
Because that's another benefit of Nurgle is once you basically pledge to Nurgle, you no longer feel any pain either.
Wow.
Which is how they can look that disgusting and be like that, and it doesn't like phase them at all because all the extra bones and all that stuff that like grows on them, they don't feel it at all. So
Yeah, like-
that's how they can take so many shots and not go down and stuff like because they just have no pain at all anymore.
So,
Unless you shoot them in the head, it just doesn't affect them. They don't care.
That brings up my next thing, which I think I wrote in the questions about Magard's blade.
Yeah, so I tried to look that up after you wrote that in there.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about it. It's never mentioned again anywhere, as far as
Really?
anybody, as far as I could find. It's never mentioned in any more books. It's never mentioned in any lore that anybody I was able to find.
I think it's insane
mentions.
because
Yeah, everybody that I found asking about it was pissed that they couldn't find any more information.
because the weapon was according to Petronilla, the weapon was forged on Terra, and it was meant to sever soul from body. So when he's fighting the zombies, I'm just gonna say it, zombies.
They're pretty much
And when
zombies.
he's fighting the zombies,
Yeah, I can't
he hits
remember what
them
that group is called,
anywhere,
but they're
and they
basically
will
zombies.
die, while everyone else has to do headshots. But like Magard has this special blades, so I guess now I'm kind of upset if
It's
nothing like this is the last we hear of it. But
Well,
I mean,
Got
it's kinda
J.J.
cool.
Abrams.
it's a
Guys might have something.
I got fooled.
It's a Curlian blade, right? Forged on
okay.
ancient Terra
Yeah.
and said to be able to sever the connection between the soul and the body, though I've never seen it used before today. So, see, here's the thing. Warhammer universe is like wide open. If you wanted to go write a story about that, like sounds like that's territory that's not been taken. So it's like, that's an opportunity for a writer.
True.
Not I, but yeah.
Oh, it sounds like Dies may know something he's not telling us about because of potential spoilers. So maybe there is
Dies.
more,
I
and
was
I
gonna
just
say-
didn't find it.
If they don't mention it again here, at least like it's got to come up again somewhere.
Right.
So Dies is like, he's like on the edge of a cliff. He's like, I want to talk about so many things, but I can't because it's going to spoil shit. So Dies is like ready for us to get through the next couple books.
Probably.
Speed read through. Okay, sorry, let me go through this. What else did we talk about? Oh yeah, also like the number one dumbest thing in this part too is that Petronilla followed them into the fray, and then obviously the Titan class was like, the fuck is that? Gotta shoot it out of the sky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
That was the dumbest. I agree. That was like the dumbest thing in the whole book. Not only that she was like, oh well, he didn't tell me not to go, so he must be telling me I should go.
You
That's
dumb
just
bitch.
that's like how
Okay,
a child
okay.
thinks. That's stupid.
So I'm also gonna blame Horace a little bit for that, because he is very like, he'll say shit and then he'll like give you a look, like that's the way everything reads. Like he's, even when he's giving people shit and they're like, oh, he's fucking with us, he's like, yeah, I'm fucking with you. Like Horace is very much one of those constantly messing with people. And so, not that I agree that she should have gone down to the planet, but like,
yeah.
I can totally see misunderstanding Horace after like the interactions we've witnessed so far.
Yeah, I could definitely understand why she might have, like, where that thought process came from, but it's still a stupid thing to do. You just watched an entire company of Astartes leave, and you think, oh, it's fine for me to just go. I'll be okay. The only civilian here that nobody knows is coming.
Horus rewarded her for being bold, and so she's just going to keep being bold until it gets her killed. That's just how I take it.
Which it should have right then, but it didn't.
She's very lucky. She's very lucky she didn't die right there. And like everybody except for her and Maggard, so the two pilots died, right? So like that was definitely, and she, barely survives. Maggard, I think, should have died there too. With it sounds like he like got all these scrapes and everything. Like it sounded like he was on the verge of death if the Astartes didn't show up when they did.
Oh yeah. I don't think they were gonna make it much longer if they hadn't shown up. But yeah, the fact that they even survived it all and were able to fight is crazy, because they were like just talking about her being up walking around in the ship when it gets shot down. So she wasn't like strapped in or anything. She just got thrown all over the place and was just like, I'm good, sort of.
I'm fine.
I have to assume like safety devices on these futuristic like space planes are different. Like, it's almost like what's that movie?
Dark Corners become inflatable.
Yeah. Or like fill up with like foam or whatever and protect you. I forget the movie that's from.
Like the cars in Demolition Man.
Yes, like I figure something like that, like that, but because like Astartes can survive just about anything, but the rest of the human race is not Astartes, so I have to assume they built safety mechanisms, and that's why she survived. Otherwise, I
assume they probably did something, but at the same time, the more you know about the lore and stuff, the more they don't give a shit about humans.
Fair enough.
Even though she's like royalty on Terra.
No, I don't mean Astartes don't give a shit. I mean just the Imperium in general doesn't give a shit about it. They literally have entire planets. The job is to pump out human bodies to use as fuel.
Humans are weak.
That's the other part is like, as high as her status is on Terra, like wherever on David, she's shit. She has no status. Like the only reason I think she doesn't fucking get shot for like disobeying Horus right there is because it was Horus's own like scribe. If it had been anybody else that pulled that shit, Horus would have been like, you done fucked up shit, kill you and move on, is how I take that. Because he just doesn't take that shit.
Doesn't he say something to that effect?
I don't recall, but probably.
I don't remember if he did or not. I think he did. I think he's like, I think he basically said like, you're lucky that we didn't just kill you.
Mm-hmm. Your curiosity almost got you killed. If your bodyguard had been less capable, you'd already be dead.
There you go.
But he doesn't like
so not quite that direct, but
well, Miss Vivar, what in the name of Terra are you doing here? I ordered you to stay aboard the Vengeful Spirit. And she was speechless. She's like, I had to come, I had to see. It's like, you should have died.
You're so stupid.
Well, again, I think sometimes I look at Astartes and I think they are so far beyond humans that like they definitely look down on regular humans. But like when Horus learns that Vivar's family cut out Maggard's tongue, he gives her a look like, really? Mm-hmm. Like, so they obviously value life at some level, but I don't know how much.
Yeah, I get the feeling that it's not that they don't care. It's more like they're so above them in every level that they just don't. It just isn't a thought that pops in their head at any point.
Sure.
They're not ever like, oh, we should be careful of the humans. It's like when they're. Oh, that's later. We'll get to that later.
I was about to say, we'll get there.
Jumping forward.
I did want to point out, I thought this was funny, and they said it several times during the fight too, but I noticed during the first section and forgot to mention it because these are all out of order. But I just thought it was funny that I realized in this book, even though they did it in the last book too, now that I figured it out, that they're using throne as a curse word instead of cursing in the books.
What is the deal there? Is that some lore thing that we'll find out later? Like they say,
I don't know if it has anything. I don't know if it has anything to do with lore, or if it's just because then they can get away with, not having to worry about children or whoever
Censorship
being censored in certain
Kids should
countries
not
or
be
whatever. You
reading
never
these
know.
books. I'm sorry.
No, they
Probably
shouldn't. But there's no age. I don't think there's an age rating on them. So, but if they've been cursing in it, there may have been one. So.
I
don't
guarantee
know.
you,
Or maybe the emperor just doesn't like it.
I mean, based on all this shit in America right now, I don't think they would allow these books in any public schools, anyways.
Probably not. Maybe a banned book.
Not in Florida.
Not in Florida.
Be part of the
We
banned
don't
book
take
list.
kindly to that Warhammer lore in Florida.
Throne is kind of like
okay.
saying Jesus Christ. It's like a deified thing taken in vain. The emperor's throne. Okay, got it. So when you're saying like, oh throne, you're like saying oh emperor or whatever. Okay, I get it. I get it.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah. Warhammer isms.
Where are we at now? It's
So
kind
now
of as
we're
they're
at-
getting to the ship.
So we're
Oh.
at the part where they're fighting and like they're trying to make their way to the ship, and the Vivar's plane crashes in, and they regroup around. That's the one like good thing that came out of her ship like smashing in when it did, is it gave
It gave
all
everybody
the
somewhere to
Astartes
go
a focal
to.
point. Yeah, they all like grouped up on Horus at that point. Otherwise,
Which is funny.
I don't know how this would have worked out.
No, but it's also funny that they can see the fire from her plane crash, but not the 50-foot or 50-meter tall giant Titan that just shot it down.
Well, so the Titan shot it down, right? But like, I assume the Titan isn't in the middle of all the marching in army. It's like it's a little bit behind them, and so what I took
but
that to mean is like
it's
far enough
flew,
back.
Pretty sure
from
it's
the
like
description.
foggy,
It
too.
flew in almost like basically almost impacted it when they shot it down.
Yep.
So
yeah,
it's
and it was
pretty,
all Aaron's
it was
right,
pretty
it's still
close.
foggy and murky still.
And then so they converged on the fire, so they weren't necessarily, nobody was there where the crash was. But I just think it's funny that they're like, oh, there's fire over there, but nobody was like, oh, there's a giant Titan that way.
They might not have seen him. Maybe they didn't
Yeah,
see
well,
that it
he
was
didn't
a Titan,
Visibility was
see
and
the
then-
skiff.
really low. Well,
Yeah.
and
He
that's
didn't
the other
even
thing.
see the skiff. He just sensed it. He sensed something coming from above and shot it out of the air, not knowing what it was. So
Sure.
I think the visibility was like 0.
Probably.
Titan-
If
Yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't see the
Actually-
Titan actually shoot him, then they probably missed it.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is that I think it's funny that they can't see any of that stuff, but then when the plane is on fire, they can see the fire
Oh, I see the smoke.
from all
Oh.
the like everybody can all of a sudden see that.
True.
Gotcha. So you would think like if they had like flame units,
Because it's like a
they
light.
could
It's
have-
like a beacon.
yeah.
Because the flame
Well, I guess
is,
that's true.
is
The
lit
Titan's
through
not
the
gonna
fog,
not
so
lit
you
up.
can
It's,
see it.
it's not gonna
Yeah.
Sure.
provide a light source or anything.
Yeah, you
Right.
can see fire a lot better than a Titan.
Well, and also a Titan's pretty much just legs at their height. So
Right. Yeah. Oh, and like later on, while they're like, I guess now what we're talking about, they talk about how the Titans are just like flying through and just like murdering piles of zombies. Like they're just making runs back and forth.
yeah,
So
Yeah, that's
They
what I
knew
was
how
going
to-
to say earlier about the zombies too, like how they can take on these guys as in numbers. Like how all zombie things work is like they might not be as strong or whatever, but they have like horde numbers.
but they are strong, right? Because Loken had trouble fighting
No,
off
I know,
just
I'm
like
just
one of
saying.
them, right? So yeah, but you're right. They have numbers, and Nergalith makes them really fucking strong. So that's why they had such a hard time. Okay,
yeah, and they also have the benefit of they're not stupid. They're not regular zombies. They're just dead.
Yeah, they're reanimated, but
they can
all
actually like
identical.
they
if
can
not
actually like
empowered.
follow orders and stuff. They're not
Mhm.
they're not
I
just
didn't get that. Okay.
aimlessly wandering around. Yeah, they don't just aimlessly wander around looking for brains or whatever. They're an
Oh, no,
actual like group.
They were like a trap. Like they were set. Loken literally
Yeah.
picks one up. It's like a dead body, and he's like looking at it, trying to figure it out, and then it fucking comes to life and starts attacking him. So Yeah.
Yeah, and unlike a zombie would just like start flailing at you, you would think, but it goes for his throat immediately.
That's
Mhm.
true.
Mm-hmm.
Like it recognizes there's no armor here. Let me grab right there.
So are we at the part where, like Horus decides to leave Loken and
Doesn't
whoever
he?
else?
Yes.
He
Yeah,
chooses his
He's
the
like-
next
party.
thing that happens.
He's like, you two stay outside. And like, we're all going
which I thought was
in.
kind of a dick move.
It was totally a
It
dick
was
move.
very petty.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, he questioned him, and he's like, "All right, well, you want to question me? You can stay your ass outside. We'll go have fun."
What an asshole. Although, because of what happened, it ultimately saved his life.
Yeah,
Sure.
true.
Which is like, that's cool, but also, it sucks. Because then what? So this chapter is essentially the big battle. Timba has the
Anathane.
anathane.
See? You remember Interrex, I remember Anathane. We got our thing.
Anathane.
Is it Ain or Aim?
Oh, that's a good question.
I thought it was
I think it's-
Anathame.
with an M as in
M. Someone
Maggard?
Google it.
I'm trying to look. I'm really good at actually like looking this stuff in the book.
It is M-E.
Anathane.
Anathane.
Aim.
Fame, like Mame.
Yeah. So he gets injured with the anathame in his shoulder, but he kills Temba, who ultimately ends up repenting in the end, saying
So-
that he fell victim to the
Yeah.
chaos.
Yeah. Well, like he wanted the power to he wanted power. He felt
Yes.
powerless. He was left behind by the crusade. He begged Horus not to leave him. Horus is like, I gotta leave somebody in charge. I trust you. You do it. And so Timba was like in this really weird mental place of like feeling left behind, which you kind of heard that in the first book, right? When they were like going to leave people behind on Terra, whatever it was called, 2319. They were
Yeah.
talking like same thing. The guy's like, it's a reward to be given a governorship, but at the same time, you recognize that you're essentially being put in forced retirement from the army.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so
I think
And
Timba regretted that.
And they clearly do it all the time because they're like, just like it's
planet.
no big deal. They just mentioned that, and he was replaced by so and so. It was installed as the new leader of the Astra Militarum, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, that's what happened when they like leave this planet again. They're like, somebody else has to be in charge. Your job. Like they did it again. It's like,
yeah,
haven't y'all fucking learned?
no,
No.
obviously not. He's like, hey, you saw what happens if you fuck up. We'll be back.
All right, so back to the ship. They're all in like so. Horus gets separated from everybody, right?
Yeah.
The ship like
Yep.
fucking like folds up and falls over again. I don't know how anybody outside survived or inside survived that shit, but
True.
Horus gets sort of like herded to Timba. They fight, but Horus even recognizes that it's like Timba was not a swordsman. This sword is like super strong on its own. Like
This
that,
sword has a mind of its own.
yeah. Like what the hell? Like so, the Interrex weren't kidding when they like locked this shit away. They should have like fucking locked it away in a pit away from anybody ever. I don't know why they kept it in a museum.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
destroyed it instead of keeping it around.
I don't know if they could.
I think they couldn't. I think they may have mentioned that. Not that weapon specifically, but I think they may have said that's why those things were still around.
Yep.
So I think Loken or somebody may have asked that in the last book. I don't remember. I think he asked that dude who he ended up having to attack when all the shit went down. I think they were talking about that when he told them it was just that they were basically cursed weapons.
Right. They're like
So I answered my own question.
possessed weapon. Yeah. Well, it's like it's a possessed weapon, right? Like, because literally,
Yeah.
you know,
it has has a soul bonded to it.
because Timba says, you know, Horus, and then like fucking starts fighting him and going like the sword is like trying to kill him.
It kind of like reminds me of what is it in Guardians of the Galaxy, the guy who whistles.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
He has like that needle that he like.
Yep.
Or the, not
Mary
the, where they
Poppins.
I'm
attack
fucking
people
Mary
with.
Poppins, y'all. Yeah.
So that's happening on the planet, but then back on the ship. Well, okay, no, this is also when shit goes down on the ship too, because they meet up with Horus, and Horus is collapsed.
Yeah.
Or he collapses on their way out.
Yeah. He's actually like walking out. He's like, I'll walk out. And then as he's walking out, he like fucking falls over. And like, there's this whole moment where, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, what's her name? Vivar is all like, she's like, I tried to like catch him, but like, I realized there's no fucking way I'm catching this guy. She's like, so, and that's where she's like, that's, you know, when I saw Horus fall, like she has that line there. And it's like, at that point, like, as they're fucking getting out of there and they're helping Horus get out of there, I'm like, where's the fucking sword, y'all? Where's it at?
Yeah.
Why are you leaving?
Also, why would they, in my mind, I'm like, wouldn't that be like the first thing you would want to retreat besides your down?
Horus doesn't say anything.
No, yeah, they don't know that that's what's going on yet. He hasn't told them. They just know that he's really messed up and needs medical attention as soon as he can get it.
And
to backtrack a second.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. To backtrack a second though, before they find him, I was gonna say like chapter 10, Horus gets really deep in conversation with his thoughts and his feelings, like in chapter 10.
I think that's after this.
Is it after?
Yeah, I think it's when he's back on the ship and talking to his remembrancer.
Okay,
yeah.
Never mind. I thought it was
Petronella.
before. I was trying to remember.
No. That's a good point though. I want to get to that too. So like,
on that. Okay, never mind. Continue.
so they like they
we
bundle
circle
him
back
up.
to the end of the book. I'm just kidding.
Perfect. Let's do that. Well, like, yeah, he collapses. They gather him up. They fucking run to a ship. They fly him back up, and they fucking trample a bunch of remembrancers. Like, what the fuck?
They murder a
and
bunch
civilians
of
and shit.
Yeah.
Civilians there.
Yeah, they just fucking like essentially they're flying back. Word gets out. The War Master's injured. Nobody fucking thinks to clear the deck. They land in the middle of a crowd. Fucking just stomp all over him, trying to get him to the medic bay. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, what the fuck? Like, why was nobody on the ship smart enough to like keep the deck clear? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Or they're just hasty and they didn't think to be like, maybe we should ask these people to move.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like you could send in like 2 people to just be like, just like make a Moses fucking
Clear
spread
the crowd.
You know, like it wouldn't have been that hard. Instead, they're just like, oh, get out of our way.
I mean,
like
literally, if an Astartes had said, "Get the fuck out of the way," those people would have moved, but they didn't.
That's
do
what
that.
I'm saying. Like, I don't feel like they gave them a chance to move. They were just like, well, you're here, you're dead.
So so I think part of that was due to the I'm blanking on the word right now, but they had already been told, as far as they were aware, that he was dead, and so they were trying to come like show their respects, which I think is why they weren't moving out of the way. They wanted to see the body, and then. But yeah, I agree. I feel like if an Astarte told you to move the fuck out of the way, and you'd move, not just stand there and get beaten to death.
I would have been like, I would have been in the back on a box so I could see and not get trampled. I'm just saying, like, that's some dumbass people right there.
Yeah.
Well, like V8 said, it's a different military than like humans, where humans plan and communicate a little bit better than they do. So.
Well, and at the same time, like, you saw this in the first book when what's her name? One of the remembrancers is like she realizes like, oh fuck, these people are like so far beyond us. Like they're really, they don't have fear. Like I think like what's she say? She says like, your job is to protect all of us. Like, but like where would we be without you? Yeah. It's like they know They know they're fucking something else. And it's so interesting to me that to follow that up, like, so
it was this book. It's the beginning of this book.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's when he's walking. He's basically just in a towel, essentially walking down the hallway, and she's like, and he can like sense her staring at him, and he's like, "No, it's fine. I'd rather be remembered like this than as an old man."
Yeah, that's right. Right. Mercedes like in his training room or whatever. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like there's just a lot to absorb in this. Like it's funny, Dies was saying how this book was kind of like a bit of a lull, and like there's a lot of shit going on here. Like there's go ahead.
Like the beginning was a lull. I think part 2 is when things get a little bit better.
That's true. Yeah. So they get back to the ship, right? And they like they take Horus to the medics, and the medics are like, "Hello." I don't know.
Nope.
I don't fucking know. Hi, V8. Yeah. So they're like, they're very much, I don't know. Everybody's like fucking losing their mind at that point. Like even the captains are like, what's his name? Abaddon is fucking beating the shit out of the training machines.
Oh, yeah.
Aximand is cleaning a gun that is like super polished clean already because he doesn't know what else to do. Like you can see these like titans of war, these like the kings of the Astartes, essentially these massive dudes don't know what to do with their feelings. And it's like, because they feel no control.
I love the part where during that when while he's like beating the shit out of the training stuff, and he's like, I don't think you're supposed to go that hard on them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's like the training master will have your hide or some shit like that. He's like, that's what they're there for. He's like, you're not supposed to go that hard on them. He's like, what about you? Like, aren't you angry? He's like, yes, motherfucker, I'm rubbing the fucking metal apart over here. Like, can't you see that? And then all of a sudden, who shows up? Erebus to fucking like, start some more shit. He's like, let's go have a talk in the secret room over here. Like, oh my God.
In the secret room.
Yeah.
Secret tunnel.
Yeah. Dirtiest thing said.
I like the
Warhammer.
idea of Horus not being able to be like really seen by like the medic apothecaries or whatever, and him needing to go to the Serpent Lodge. I like that more is needed. It's not just like a simple recovery process.
Well, like as we can, I guess, like I took from that the sword, it obviously wasn't like poison or anything. Like it was like a curse. Like that fucking sword put a curse on him, and like the medics are like, we don't know anything about why he's dying. Like everything we can tell. Mm-hmm. Like what did the medics say? He's been like the infection was like engineered for him. Like is the way he sort of phrased it.
Yeah.
It's like,
which makes sense, right?
It was a sword to kill a Primarch, like is the way it was phrased. But I think based on how the anatheme works, I think you just tell it you want to kill someone and it like makes a curse to kill them. Like that's the way the fucking thing works. And
maybe that's why he said Horus's name.
Right. Well, no, what did he say? He actually didn't say Horus. He said the War Master. And then he fucking started fighting. But you just have to give the intent to the weapon of who you're going to kill. And which is really funny because then when Loken goes back to the planet or the moon to pick up the sword, like he picks it up and like he says Tarek's name because he's talking to Tarek while holding it, and the sword reacts, and he's like, "The fuck!" Like it's so you can tell it's like it's not a one and done. This thing is like death.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's ready to claim another soul.
Yeah. Why didn't the Interax fucking destroy it?
What the head apothecary? What's his name?
Oh, I don't.
F, I think. I can't
no
remember.
idea.
But he describes while he's like saying, I don't know what's going on here. He basically makes it sound like, you brought in a trauma patient and I am a child playing with plastic doctor equipment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this guy, or I think he says at one point, as far ahead of the humans as an Astartes is, the Primarch is double that of an Astartes. And he's like, I don't even know where to begin at this.
And that's why I was saying that, like, I like that because I kind of, you get the idea that the anathame is like not this normal weapon, right? So like when they were taking him to this like pretty standard hospital, I was like, they better not be able to just like fix him.
Fix him.
And I was
yeah.
very relieved for them to be like to say that.
Yeah, I like that even if he had known potentially what was causing it, he may still have not known how to fix it because he's like, this dude is so completely different than you are. I don't know how to work on them. I know how to work on y'all.
And I don't even remember exactly how they came up with the plan to take him to the Serpent
Erebus.
Lodge, which
They
makes
had
sense.
a secret lodge meeting, right?
Yeah.
And
they had a
like
meeting.
they had the secretest meetings, and like Loken wasn't even there. Torgenen wasn't even there.
Well,
'Cause
so
they
were on the moon looking for the blade.
They went
Which
back.
is why I
yeah.
think they weren't there, because I think everybody else that was there in that particular meeting was all like officer class people.
Yeah,
That's what we were
Right.
talking about in the chat
Yes.
a couple weeks ago. Is that
Yeah.
like it's not mentioned, but they are all the what did you say, commander class, which should have been somebody there to stick up for.
Loken.
So they
Okay.
don't. Well, Jennard had been asking about Nero Viperus,
Yes.
however you say his name. But also, I thought about that after the fact. He is only a sergeant, so he may have not been a part of that meeting because he may not have been a high enough rank to be involved in the conversation that they were having,
False.
and that may be why he was not mentioned.
Nero is Loken's second in command, which meant he should have been high enough.
That's true. Yeah, he should have been
He
there
is
in
a
his place
sergeant,
because he
though.
wasn't there.
Yeah, but because he's like the second in command, like
Yeah.
and that's the thing. That's the thing that sort of like ruined my immersion right there, because I was like, this meeting is happening. They're trying to fucking like, Erebus is trying to like, curmudgeon whatever, like bludgeon them into doing this thing, right? He's like, hey, we got to go down here. They're the only people who can heal him, and like, and that was the first meeting. The second meeting later is the one you're talking about, where like they were like, we need to pin this on Loken. Like that was a much
That's the
later
other
meeting.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
But the
but even
first
in the
meeting-
first
So many
one,
meetings.
the only people that are involved, actually, no, I take that back. Yeah, I think in the first one is just Mournival, isn't it? And Erebus.
The
Yeah,
first
I was
one
gonna say
is really just like the Mournival, Erebus,
And then
a
the guy
couple
that
of the
runs
really-
the lodge, whose name I
the-
can never remember.
Well, there's like a whole bunch of higher ups in there. There's like the War Master's like strategist. I forget his name. They've got like the top dogs. They don't have any of the like the
Yeah, because they've
captains or
got the guy
anything.
that's in charge of the guard.
Right.
They have everyone
the
they
military,
need
not his like personal guard.
to promote going back to the planet
Yeah.
and going to the Serpent Lodge.
Erebus rounded up the people that he needed in power to make this plan work.
Yeah,
Which is like damn, this guy in the long con,
Well, and at that point, Loken and Tarek are back on the moon. They're not there
Right.
to like voice dissent, which would have been the dissent, right?
yeah, they're the two that are always the dissenting opinion. So making, he didn't even have to do anything to make sure they were gone.
Yeah, it was
He
of their
just-
own
he just-
accord.
I think it was more opportunistic that it presented itself. He's like, hey, they left. I can convince the rest of these dumbasses to take him where I need to go.
Yep.
Exactly. Had they not decided that like we needed to go back, then things
And
would be
that's-
different.
That was the other part that was kind of interesting to me, because like when they all met up with Horus on the bridge of that ship, like Erebus knew the sword was there somewhere. He knew, right?
Yeah, he's had this all planned ahead of time before he ever showed up.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's
he knew,
so many.
He knew what he was
there's
looking for and where it was.
There's so much planning that went into all of this just to get Horus to that moment, right? Like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And kind of
It's-
sad,
Yeah.
It's kind of sad that when your like characters like self like it seems like none of their actions are actually self-motivated, but they're all pre-constructed by somebody else, which makes them a little tragic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The book did a really good job of getting to the point where I was all starting to feel sorry for Horace. I'm like, this isn't even his fault. He's being tricked into all this shit. And then later on, it's like, oh well, never mind. He totally chose to do this.
All right, so let's move on to that point, right? So like now Horace is being flown back to the planet, to the Serpent Lodge, right? And Loken has the sword. He and Tarek are flying back to the ship, and they like spot. They fly back to the ship and they spot what's happened, and they get on board. They give the sword to the medic, and they fucking jump back on the ship and go after Horace, right?
A lot of
is that
back
different?
and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they give him the weapon
They
until
give
after.
yeah.
Until
Oh,
after?
I thought
Okay.
they come back to the ship first before. So they get
Dude,
back to
I-
the ship and
I
they
can't
find
remember.
out
I don't think it
that
I
matters.
couldn't remember where they got told. I know somebody told them where everybody went, but I couldn't remember if they were told en
Yeah.
route or if they came back to the ship and then were told there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was they got back to the ship. They were informed that the majority vote was to take him to this Serpent Lodge.
Yeah.
All I can think of is if they went like back to if they essentially like took the sword, were flying up, turned around and followed the other ships, like where's the anatheme in that whole encounter as well? Like all these like leftover bits, like what's going on with that piece?
Yeah, I wondered that too.
Wait, say that again.
So
Okay.
if they didn't go back to the ship and give the sword to the medic before they went to go to the
Oh,
Serpent Lodge,
yeah.
right? Where was the anatheme in that moment?
What is the state of the anatheme?
Yeah, you're right. I think
it
it makes more sense that that's probably what happened, and I just don't remember that they would have gone and given it to him first, because then it's accounted for. Everybody knows where it is now.
There
Well,
are
everybody that
holes
needs
in
to
the
know
book.
knows.
We're
That's
also
okay.
True.
missing in this whole thing before he's taken down to be to the Serpent Lodge. He gives his like last will and testament to Petronella,
Yeah. And
That's
like,
what I was.
which comes in to the end part of the book.
That's what I was
Well,
talking about earlier
it's-
that I got mixed
Yeah.
up with.
It's not a quick thing either. It doesn't sound like.
It's
It
like
sounds like
hours.
it took them
Hours.
hours to go get that blade, because
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
they
Well,
mentioned that
and-
he like basically exhausts himself and passes out from talking so much.
yeah, he spent hours talking to that fucking remembrancer, but he couldn't spend time with us, blah, 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 in his last moments. It's like, Abaddon, get over your fucking self, dude. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
Abaddon's a little baby,
Jealous.
or actually, he's a giant baby.
All
He's a
you
giant
big
baby.
Astartes men need therapy.
Yeah.
I don't think they have an apothecary for therapy.
I like, when that was the other part, when like Abaddon and Axaman are like cornered in that secret meeting by Erebus, and like Axaman's like, don't ask this of me. He's like, don't ask this of me. Cause he can't let Horus die. Like he
Right.
knows that taking him to the fucking Serpent Lodge is a bad idea. And he
Yeah.
can't not do everything in his power to try to save Horus's life.
Sure. Because they didn't have another plan or an idea of how to help him. So.
And this is where shit, like, this really turned my stomach on the Mournival, because like Axaman's like, where's Tarek? Where's Loken? And like Axaman's like, fuck them. They went off to go do something else. He's like, it's like, no, that's
Yeah, they
not
start
what
talking
happened.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, they start talking shit about Loken right there, and I'm like,
Yeah, like
fuck
you don't
y'all.
even know what you're talking about.
Fuck y'all. Like y'all.
It's so interesting how they are so quick to turn on their
Yeah.
brothers, but then they bring up the fact that that you should never turn on your brothers. And you
Don't
should
turn on the
always
Mournival. I'm like, motherfucker, you turned on him like fucking days ago, asshole.
blink
I would
of
be
an
really surprised if like the one of the underlying themes of these books is like the problem with toxic masculinity. If like they had that in their mind, or if they're just like writing it on accident. And you're like, oh, this is actually a good little way about how toxic masculinity is kind of a problem, huh?
Don't be like
It's-
this.
Yeah, if you make dudes super strong and super angry, they just become toxic masculine assholes. Yep.
I would be very interested to know if there was forethought on that at all.
Probably not. Probably
Negative
not.
I
alpha
don't
male
think so.
characteristics.
There's foreshadowing to other stuff that's to come, but I don't know about that.
Hmm.
Being
So that was
foreshadowed.
another important thing I thought we should talk about before continuing on to part part 3, because then so like the last bit of part 2 was Keeler is now full into this. The Emperor is God, and I'm gonna hand out pamphlets.
Yeah.
You want a tip
right,
with your
right.
meal? No, you're gonna get this pamphlet about Jesus.
She's like sneaking around and like putting pamphlets everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like,
here's this $5 bill. Surprise! It's actually scripture.
It's Jesus stuff.
Is that Trump? What the heck? This is fake. I hate those like fake $100 bills.
Oh
that
my
look
God.
real.
And they fold it just so you see the 100 bit, and then it's like,
So
God damn it.
shitty. I see that on Reddit. They're like, I got tipped today. And it was like a $20 with Trump's face on it.
No, thank you. Well,
Does anyone?
Anyways.
go ahead, Kiki.
When Horace is getting into his like deep thoughts and feelings in chapter 10 too, does
Mhm.
anyone what are your thoughts on him thinking that is it Saguinius should have been War Master instead?
Oh, Sanguinius.
Oh, Sanguinius?
Sanguinius.
His
brother.
brother?
Yeah,
angel.
that was interesting because he was like really going into deep thoughts about like I shouldn't have been War Master, he should have been, and
Well, he's on
That
his
was
deathbed,
interesting.
and he's
True.
like the thing about Horace is like he's on his deathbed, and he's feeling sorry for himself because he's fucked up some stuff, right? He talks about since he's taken over the campaign, he fucked up the Interrex, he fucked up murder, like he fucked up Davin, like he's literally like he's like I fucked up everything. I should not have been the War Master, and she goes, well, who do you think it should have been? And he's like, Sanguinius.
Yeah.
He's the best of
Sanguinius
us.
should have
It
been.
should have been him. And I'm like, that's just like
He
you just gotta
still
let
would
that
have
shit
fell for it's all
Yeah.
Erebus. Like it's
Yeah.
not
True.
even his fault really. Like
True, it
he
isn't his
tricked
fault.
him into to go into Davin in the first place.
But he uses Horace's hubris against him right there. Like that's what it is. Like the whole thing is
masculinity.
right. He's like he's high on his own. Like, oh, I'm the War Master. I'm the fucking cat's meow. It's like no.
Yeah, I gotta
Right.
go stomp this fool who doesn't like who's revolting or whatnot.
And like,
Yeah.
it's really funny if he just stopped and listened to Loken at all, it would have turned out
Yeah.
so differently. Because Loken's like,
True.
as soon as the fucking the voice came over the Vox, he's like, "This is a trap." And like, Horse is like, "We're fucking gonna go right there." It's like, okay. And then they get to the ship, and he's like, "Still a trap." And Horse is like, "Fuck off! You're staying outside." Like, what the
I'm
fuck,
convinced
man?
False Gods is a story about the pitfalls of toxic masculinity. I'm convinced.
and
There you
entrapment.
go. Entrapment. Entrapment.
Well, like as soon as they're like landing on that, as soon as they're before they landed and everything, I'm like, yep, this is totally a trap. I was like,
Oh,
not
yeah.
a good idea. It's so
Oh, yeah.
super sketchy and eerie. Yeah.
The only one
Well-
who's right is Loken.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and
All
like,
the time.
And he
Look-
doesn't get
look-
listened to.
nobody listens to him, and like except for Tarek. Tarek's like, okay, we're Mornival brothers. He's like the only one who's still like respecting the vows of the Mornival. He's like, let's do this. Even when they're down there, right? When they pick up the sword, and like Tarek goes, "What's that?" And he goes, "This is the anatheme." He's like, "How do you think it got here?" He's like, "I gotta." And Tarek's like, "Don't treat me like an idiot. It was Erebus." And he's like,
Yeah,
we
they
can't
sniff it
say."
out.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, we can't go in with that accusation right now. He's like, it was fucking Erebus. Like they're literally, Tarek knows, Loken knows, and like everybody else is just fucking drinking the Kool-Aid, and I hate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's frustrating.
I did like that little exchange they had though, where he's like in his head, like I can't tell him he's got a big fucking mouth. He's gonna blab it if I let him know what I'm thinking. And then he's like, I already know, dude. It's obvious.
Yeah. It's like it's written right here. Who's the only guy that could have done this? Erebus.
There's basically a note left on it that's like Erebus, reminder to return when done with.
Yeah.
Like
After corruption, return to sender.
No, it's like here you go, love Erebus, like on the box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Written in that same script that's on his head in tattoos.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So they can't read it.
we'll get back to that. We're gonna get back to that because there's a whole section on that later, right?
Yeah, that's coming up later.
So what about the Serpent Lodge, right? Let's go there. That's
Part
next.
3. We're at the Serpent Lodge.
The name of the
So
book.
they said it. They said the name of the book.
They
We're
said
done.
it.
They said the thing. So Erebus, I guess. Okay, so this is where I'm a little confused. So Horus is at one lodge and Erebus is at another lodge.
No,
They're at the
No.
same lodge
they're at the same lodge.
in
So-
different rooms, obviously.
Correct. Erebus is
There's
in a
like-
hidden room. Yeah, in a hidden
Oh,
room
okay,
in the
okay.
temple with the priestess who like cuts his throat.
It was like, hey,
Which
if you want
was-
to walk the plane, you gotta die.
So
Without
badass.
telling him that directly until it's
Yeah.
too late, because she's currently cutting his throat.
she's like, all right, you're gonna go in to the chaos with him, and you're gonna do the thing, right? He's like, yeah. She goes, whoop. He goes, what the fuck?
But you have
Wait,
to die
so
as
good.
I'm killing you.
I didn't see that coming. That was so surprising. It's Erebus. It's
Sure.
like he kind of seems infallible, and then like whoop, like
Yep.
that was so cool and badass.
Oh yeah.
I like that
Love this.
he
section.
still figured it out, but he couldn't do anything about it when he figured it
Yeah.
out because it was like happening
Exactly.
as he was right
Well,
before he figured it out.
and he
Or right, I
couldn't
mean, right as he was
not do
figuring
it.
out. Yeah, he had to. But
Right.
I like how it mentions that he's like pissed at her, and he's like, "Okay, this isn't gonna help. I gotta
I'm
calm
gonna
down."
kill her when I
gotta
get
be able to do
out.
this.
Yeah.
And then and then he's like, "Okay, well this isn't gonna work." And then he's like, "Wait, why is this lady's tone changed? Why does she seem like she's in control now?" And then she slits the throat.
I'm pretty sure though that if he like read the brochure beforehand, that he would have been like, "Well, okay, I got to do
Read
that."
the
then.
brochure.
He's not a
Who
read
knows?
the
I think
instructions
if he
kind of guy.
No, but like I think that if he knew that that's what he had to do, he probably still would have done it. You know, because this
Yeah.
is his whole fucking shtick.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, well, I gotta. How else would he have convinced Horus of anything?
Well,
Mhm.
so somebody had to go in, right? Somebody had to go in who knew the War Master, who could like portray who was it? He wore the face of somebody else in the dream, whatever state.
Janus.
Sejanus, yeah, Sejanus.
Yeah,
Sejanus.
a person we don't know anything about because he died in the first paragraph of the first book.
Yeah,
but
but
everybody loves him and he's great.
yeah. So
Isn't
he
he
took
like-
the face.
Face down in like a river or something.
Yeah.
too? Like,
Yeah.
He finds
Horus
him, like,
rolls
a
him over and he's
pool.
like, Sejanus. He's like, oh my god, like, yeah,
yeah.
Good.
That's what I was gonna say. Is that this section like was the first time that like even removed from the Warhammer multiverse or whatever like lore, this is just a cool idea like in any narrative. I think it's such a cool, unique, fun thing that happened, and it's executed so well that like even if it wasn't in this world, it would. This is just a cool idea. I love all this that happens.
Mhm.
The astral plane mindfuck.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
My jam. I love shit like this.
It's fucking wild.
Kind of like Squanny's background. Mess with your mind.
And Dice says, I still don't know if he makes good on his threat to kill her, which, yeah, we don't know.
True.
It doesn't ever outright tell us, but I feel like doesn't he mention it as he's leaving the plane?
Oh no, he tells Horus like once
Yeah, he's like, I've
the
got. He's
Cyclops
basically
dude,
like, I got to go kill this bitch real quick. I'll be back.
no, once Magus unmasks him, he's like,
Yeah,
and he like Horus actually sees the throat slit, and he's like, what the fuck? He's like, oh, that had to happen for me to be here, but I'm gonna kill the bitch when I get out. Like he commits to it. Jesus Christ.
but yeah, you're right. They don't ever
Yeah.
say whether he did or not, but I would assume he did.
Oh yeah, he got what he
He's
needed
he's
out
the
of
type
her.
of person who has no problem doing that.
Yeah.
He seems like a murderer.
He is the murderer.
1000%.
He seems like
I spoiled that during the last one. He is.
Yeah.
He has serial killer tendencies as a
he's
child.
got that vibe. That's
All right.
not
He
cool.
he tortured scorpions as a child.
So
He's got no problem fucking with people.
no, he's fucked up. So he gets so Horus gets locked in the temple, right? Locked in. Like they just essentially like they had his body in stasis. They carry him in, drop him off, and shut the door. Like
They gave him the Jesus treatment, but tripled the time.
that
It
shit's
said,
wild.
I think I wrote down he was in there for like 9 days.
Yeah.
I don't remember how
Yeah,
many
that's what they
days.
In there
said.
for
Well,
9
they-
days.
They said the door is sealed for 9 days. It can only be opened from the inside. So either he revives before those 9 days are up, or it will automatically open in 9 days.
Yeah, and they have
And
to.
in that time.
And
yeah.
whose call is that? Is that the Serpent Lodge that's like, this is how we do things?
Yeah.
Or like,
Yep.
whose
Or is it-
order was that?
I think
So
it's
that-
just how their little apparatus works.
How it works.
Sus. I don't like
So,
it.
so
It's magic.
So it's like one of those you know, like what's the
Sound
word?
deprivation
it's
tank?
It's a ritual, right? It's one of their rituals. You know, Billy Bob got throw him in the temple. If he comes back, he comes back. If he doesn't, he doesn't. If he dies, he dies, right? Like that's kind of the way it goes. And it's just fucking weird. And like it's sort of like it gives credence to Loken's whole, well, this is where all the lodges came from, this fucking weird ass planet with crazy fucking shit going on. Like, what are y'all doing with your secret meetings? Like, yeah, crazy people.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said that at one point too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Where he's like, this is the exact kind of shit that why I wanted no part with the lodge,
Yeah.
because of these
Exactly.
secrets.
Yeah.
All the
Man.
secrets.
He's like, you're fuck. What does he say? He's like, you took him to. He pretty much is like, you took him to a fucking witch doctor, really? You
Yeah.
took Horus to a witch doctor. Like that's that's what he's
Well,
yelling
and
at them.
then during this time that he is in the lodge, Loken is learning more about serpents and shit from Cinderman, who is still like scarred from what happened in the first book, which like rightly so. I think I'd
Yeah.
still be fucked up too. So he's learning all about the serpents and the serpent, what it means, and essentially Cinderman like knows all the lore about like, oh, it's Satan and evil
Satan.
represents Satan.
It's
not
Santa.
Satan.
No,
My bad.
misspelled Satan.
Wait, did we already talk about this? How like Erebus shows Horus the war to come and how he's not
Oh,
praised and all
yeah,
that. Isn't
he
that before
shows-
this?
Yes, so he
Yeah.
shows
Okay.
him, here's a future. I mean, like, we know it's a future, it's fake, but like Horus is like deep into believing that now the future is showing everybody worshiping not all of his brothers, but like a certain number of his brothers and the emperor, but Horus is nowhere to be found, and
Yeah.
he's been forgotten, and they don't worship him, and he's not a hero, whatever. So
Okay.
what Dai says that wasn't fake. Okay, never mind.
No,
So
yeah,
it's not
he
fake.
basically showed him the future.
Where
So-
Horus is not recognized.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, and I mean, we kind of like, I think it's interesting. I need to go back and read that section because like I want to remember all the Primarchs that had statues, right? Because like if that's the real 40K, then that's like interesting. That's telling. But what about before that, right? When Horus first wakes up in this dream state, right? And like he's got he keeps having these like visions, like the landscape's changing from like fields and trees and forests to like fucking crazy shit. Like, is that just chaos? Like, what is that? Like, I don't understand.
True. A lot of this was a little
Guys.
confusing.
Dies, tell us what that is.
They listed
He
all
kinda
the
did a minute
loyalist
ago.
Primarchs.
So all the
I thought
loyalist
that he
Primarchs have their own
was.
statues.
Go ahead.
I totally thought that he was lying about like the Emperor abandoning the Great Crusade and all that stuff. Like I thought that was pretty clear, but
So
Dice is
he
saying that
is
that's not fake.
Yeah. So he's lying as far as he knows, but he's not lying in the fact that he basically showed him the future and was like, "This is what's going to happen. You have to stop it." But in reality, that is what's going to come to pass. Whether he may not have known it at the time, but like that's what happens.
Okay.
I always get confused as like, what's real, what's not real, you know?
Sure. Well, especially now that like I
Yeah.
thought that wasn't real, and now everyone's saying that that is real. So
I thought it was
I'm
just
They're
like a
visions,
vision.
right?
Yeah, but just a
visions.
true vision,
Well,
I guess.
So they don't know that. From their
Yeah.
perspective, it is just a vision. But for people who actually know more, it's not. It's basically the future being shown to him. This is what's going to happen. And because he saw it, he's like, I'm going to do that.
Well, he was like so offended that he wasn't. There was no statue to Horus.
Yeah,
he
and
was,
once
like,
again,
pissed.
playing on him like, hey, check this out. He doesn't like you anymore. You see that? You should go do something
Yeah,
about that.
So
he
the
doesn't
Emperor
favor
doesn't
you.
actually abandon the Great Crusade. You're saying because that is a lie.
I don't think it is. Like so I haven't read any farther than this book, so I don't know.
I haven't either.
But I believe the Emperor has already abandoned the Crusade. Like I think the Emperor has foresight and knows that what's going on with Horus, even though he's like back on Earth. He knows Horus is fucking like about to turn on him. So I think he's already abandoned the Crusade, and he did so when he got out. When he's like, "You're the War Master, I'm out," because he sensed something was about to happen, and he didn't want to be there.
He hasn't been around for a while, so that's true.
Yeah.
He's prepared ahead of time.
There's a big old thing going on that I can't say.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. We don't want
So
to.
maybe he lying about why he left the Great Crusade? Is that what he said?
He knows
not
it's
that
it's
left.
the Emperor. He knows things that other people don't know, and that's part of why Horus was pissed at him, because he's like, he left and won't tell me why he left.
Yeah.
Right. So he's lying about why.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like my father abandoned me to this.
He knows something that's going on. I don't know that he knows it has to do with Horus, but he knows something is going on and is prepping for it. But he's telling no one other than the people back on Terra that are directly involved with what he's doing.
And so Erebus is lying, saying that he left to obtain like deification.
Right.
Like, you're missing out. You lost it.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. I was so fucking confused until right now.
I don't know anything about that. I think that part's a lie. I think Erebus like saying, "Oh yeah, the Emperor wants you just to be a god," and he says, "Fuck all y'all." I think that part's false. I think the part where he's like the Emperor's protecting himself from what Horus is about to do, I think that part's true.
Okay. I'm back on track.
Yeah, part 3 was a little confusing.
Yeah, I don't want to go into it too much because I don't know what the next book is gonna like, how deep it's gonna go into it, or what it's gonna mention and not mention. So I'll just not go into it any further than that, but because we're heading that direction. So it's not in this book, but more of that stuff does pertain to it, because like I said, it is the future of what's going to happen.
All right,
that he's seeing. So, but yeah, Erebus is definitely being Erebus and playing him.
And this whole time he's
like, he's like, you will not tell me what to do. You get the hell out of here. And then he's like, okay, well, you know, you
the
go
whole
ahead
time
and
he's in
do exactly what I wanted you to do. Thank you.
The wolves are after him.
Well,
which is important to remember, because at the end we know who they are or where they came from, I guess.
I think the part that kind of like is interesting there, it's all symbolism, right? There's symbolism there. There's the serpent, which like Satan, the serpent in the Garden of Eden, like there's symbolism in all of it. the thing that really kind of like interests me is how Horus's legion was the Luna wolves, right? You would think like in a dream state he would feel kinship with wolves, right? And the fact that Magnus comes to him in the shape of a wolf, like there's so much there. He's like, I'm
But then
your brother.
Erebus is like, run away from the wolves.
Right? And then, but like even later, when like Magnus is like, look, I'm your brother, like, and Horus is like, oh yeah, Magnus, what are you doing here? Like, oh yeah. He's like, what's going on? Why are you here? What's going on? Like, you shouldn't be here. You're in the warp. You're fucking not listening to Dad. Erebus, fuck off.
Right.
You're an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But then there's also the part where he takes him to that like underneath Terra and shows him the whole secret.
Yeah, the laboratory or whatever where like the Primarchs
Where they
are
were
made.
created.
Yeah.
Primarch project.
And the lie. Yeah.
Yeah.
That stuff kind of threw me off too, because I'm like, how the fuck does Erebus know about that stuff?
Yeah.
I don't think Erebus actually So the other part that Erebus alludes to is that all of this, like this part that Erebus is involved in is just like the final step in a large chain of events that like he wasn't necessarily a part of. And so I think he knows about those things because of like the powers of evil that have like helped him sort of manipulate these events. So they've given him enough information to make the things happen. Right. So like, I don't know.
Oh yeah. I can see that.
I'm sure like whoever is giving Erebus orders, right? Because he's not a mass. He's like, I think he's smart. I think he's putting shit together, but I don't think this is his plan. Like I think this is like obviously chaos, demons and shit making shit happen. And he is one of their agents, right? So like they've told him.
He's a pawn.
Yes.
So Erebus is a pawn with other
pawn in
pawns.
it, yeah.
Yeah. So specifically in his lore, it mentions multiple times over and over that Erebus's goal in life is to get power without doing a damn thing. He just wants everything handed to him, and he is going to get it, and he's not going to do any work for it if he can avoid doing the work for it. He's just going to steal it or whatever he needs to do. So I don't doubt one bit that somebody else has this whole thing going, and they're just using him. He's like, hey, whatever, he gives me power, I'll take it.
Somebody else is pulling the strings.
He just does a little bit of manipulation, and then he.
Oh yeah.
So he gets the ear.
Then he gets it.
Horus, and then.
But like Erebus, so let's take a step back, right? Like let's take a step back out of this story. We know that all Astartes used to be just space marines, and all space marines used to be humans, right? Like there's a process, right? You don't just bam, you're an Astartes. That means Erebus started as a human and had to go through all that shit to become an Astartes, which is what he is, right? He is an Astartes. He's just a member of the
word bearers.
The word bearers, right? So he commits to like doing enough to like get himself into power. Like he becomes best buddies with Horus for a little while, even when he talks shit to him before they go to Davin, right? Like he does just enough to manipulate things. But like I totally see him as not lazy, but very scheming.
Oh yeah,
very
not lazy, but he doesn't want to put any more effort in than is absolutely necessary.
Just a little lazy.
Yeah. So we can go into it real quick, since at this point everybody knows he's a shitbag. I'm not worried about spoiling it. So he, I don't remember what planet he grew up on, but he grew up on the planet where the word bearers are from. And basically, like I was saying earlier, he like would torture scorpions, and he was basically like jealous of he was like torturing scorpions and doing all this fucked up shit, and so like they're like setting up that he's definitely got issues. And
He's a psycho.
He sees a chaplain and is like, that dude gets respect. I want what that guy has. And so he finds this kid, I think it said he was like a 14-year-old kid or something, that looks similar to him and has just recently like joined up with this chapel, and basically like murders him and then tattoos his face to match this guy's face. And from there works his way through that, and is then recognized by the word bearers and put through the
process
as his like doing the bare minimum the whole time he's there. Like he's reading through the like scriptures and stuff, but intentionally not like he doesn't want to know any, like he doesn't want to actually know it. He just is remembering whatever he needs to remember to appease the people above him so that he can continue making himself look good. And then eventually the word bearers recognize him, put him through the Astartes process. He survives, and somehow, I haven't read the book related to it, so I don't know how he goes from that point to being in charge of the word bearers, but I would assume the same way. Maybe not through killing necessarily, but making him, getting in people's good graces the easiest way possible by being a manipulative little asshole.
Yeah.
And then somebody eventually puts him in charge of it. And then from that point, he's like, all right, well, now that I'm here, now I can enact this other plan that I've been working on this whole time. And then here we are.
Isn't he like, he is like a head chaplain, which I guess in the word bearers, he's like the same level as the Mournival. He's like a leader in the word bearers, but he's obviously not the Primarch, right? He's
more on, not necessarily the Mournival, but he is a captain. They just call them first chaplains or head chaplains, whatever.
First chaplain.
Yeah, the word bearers use different names for all their ranks than typical Astartes groups do. But like he doesn't run the entire thing, but he runs a company of the word bearers,
which is what Loken did before he became part of the Mournival. So like he's a captain,
right, and still
essentially. Does. Yeah. So I guess what I'm curious about is like, who's his Primarch? Is it Fulgrim?
Shit, I forgot.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Let me make sure.
There's just so many Primarchs.
Yeah, there's 20. Yeah. Lorgar. It's right Lorgar. Dies has chimed in.
Oh, that's right, because it's called like the Book of Lorgar is what they read from.
The book.
Yeah, they translate it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's right.
They translated his face.
Yep.
And accidentally
summoned.
What the fuck, man? Like, what? Like when that part happened, I was like,
bad.
They totally the mummied it.
Yeah, I was just
you must not read from the book.
So read from the book. Summon a freaking
dead.
Yeah. Well, it's like
I just watched that last night, actually.
No way, the Brendan Fraser one.
Yeah. Oh. Is there any other one?
Dude,
yes,
I don't recognize any other one. It's so funny that you said that though, because I was like, shit, I just watched that.
That's so funny. Very weird.
What a great movie.
Don't read from books. You summon things like mummies and demons.
Okay, so you were saying, somebody asked who his Primarch was, right?
Yeah.
Who's
the Primarch of? Because that's where my brain is like, why does Erebus have so much free reign? He's just jumping around doing shit all over the place. Like, does his Primarch not care? Does he not have a say? Like, what the fuck is going? Obviously, Erebus can manipulate Primarchs. We saw it with Horus, but like,
well, and it's not mentioned in this book anywhere, but Lorgar is preoccupied with the fact that he is being punished by the Emperor for doing. Looking into this warp magic, essentially, which is
just like Magnus?
Which is like
Magnus is the one that was like he's like banished pretty much for.
Oh, you know what? I might be getting them. Yeah, I might be getting them confused. I might be.
Yeah. Lorgar is the one who wrote his own Bible, right? Like that's the.
Yeah.
And
you're right. I'm getting the two of them. I'm getting the two of them mixed together. You're right. Lorgar got in trouble for worshiping the Emperor, was what he got in trouble for.
Right. And
so I don't know that it's not that. I don't think it's that he doesn't care. I think it's more that he's preoccupied with repenting for that.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
Erebus
Okay,
is
that
kind of
helps.
off doing his own thing, and he's just not concerned about it at the time.
Erebus
I
does
found
just have a
it-
little bit too much freedom. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found it really interesting how like once it's revealed that Erebus is trying to manipulate Horus, that Horus is just like, okay.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Whereas like he previously like flipped his shit when he was like, Temba, oh my god, I have
Yeah.
to start a war.
Yeah.
But then it's
Oh, yeah.
like, wait, oh, Sejanus is Erebus? I think I still believe him over my own brother, so fuck you.
Well, I think the delta is, so Horus says he doesn't believe either of them. He's like, I don't believe Magnus and I don't believe Erebus, but like the truth is Erebus has been like manipulating him the whole time. So he doesn't have to believe what Erebus is saying. Erebus has already planted the seeds of doubt,
Yeah.
of mistrust. And so at that point, Erebus can be like, fuck off, because he's already done his job. He's already convinced
It was just
Horus.
enough. Yeah.
Right. He just enough to push him down the wrong path, right?
Yeah, and he's like, now all I got to do is piss you off and get you to tell me to get the hell out of here, so you think you're making your own choice.
Right. Which is what happens, right? And so
Yeah.
the part that really like what Annie alluded to though is like later on when they're at the next secret lodge meeting, right? And like fucking everybody's like, we got to pin this shit on Loken, and Torgadon fucking pulls out a knife, right, on Erebus, and he's like, this motherfucker's been scheming the whole fucking thing since the beginning. And nobody questions it. Nobody says, no, Erebus didn't do that. They just go, oh, we were never going to be friends with the people whose names I can never remember.
Interax.
The Interax.
Yeah. They're like, oh, no, that was never going to happen. That was never going to happen. And like, what? So he's still allowed to be an evil asshole just because y'all didn't like the Interax? Like, I don't think that's how this works. Like, that's when I just gave up. I was like, fuck everybody but Loken and Tarek. Fuck them all. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done.
He also says during that point one of my favorite lines in the entire book, when he puts the knife up to his throat and he's like, I see somebody's already made an attempt. I'll make sure to finish the job.
Oh, yeah. I was like, fucking kill him, Tarek, right now. Get him. Get him. And they're like, you brought a weapon? I'm like, I don't give a shit. Nope, you're dead. He should have killed him right there.
Get the rules.
Should have read
Because-
the pamphlet.
Right?
Should have read the pamphlet. And then like, so Cinderman summons the demon accidentally.
Yeah.
And then
Hey, Dies, do you know what that thing was called? Because I don't remember. I looked it up and I forgot. I can't
I
remember
thought
what
it
that
was just
squiggly
called
thing. I think it's
demon.
no, it's like something to do
I
with
haven't-
Zinch, I think.
He just calls
I
it a
don't-
horror. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't
so
remember.
then Keeler, who's all about Jesus, God, Emperor, summons whatever, like
She
the
doesn't.
Emperor's power. Remember with the, because she
Oh,
has
yeah.
her little like pendant or something, and she's just like, I'm protected by Jesus's blood.
I didn't get any of that part. Yeah, like I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like I understand how the psyker came in and was like, I'm holding this shit.
Yeah.
Like she's like,
So
I'm
then
trying. Y'all get out of here. What did Keeler do
She
there?
was like, she just literally like stood there, held like the pendant out, and was like, I don't know, stop. And then it like sprays its whatever like fire, and the fire doesn't kill her or like singe her at all. It just kind of like melts the pendant in her hand.
Yeah. Like how?
But then
how?
she's protected by something.
By her faith.
We know, yeah, by her faith. I guess.
Well, that's all I took.
And then
like,
she ends up, she's in a coma now.
Yeah.
Well, like how? So right there, it's also made me question. The Emperor is the greatest psyker of them all. Oh, well, there you go.
And I looked. We were both correct. It is a horror, and I was right. It's called a horror of Zinch. So it's
Oh.
a second Chaos God getting involved now.
Oh, geez.
Well, and this came about because Cinderman deciphered this shit on Erebus's head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is this motherfucker still alive? Like, why is Erebus allowed to walk around? Like, God.
Because he's a human, he can't do shit about it.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This book, I lost
too
faith
much.
in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Like, why hasn't Loken just taken it upon himself to just like murk the guy?
Because he can't. He's too much of a man of duty and a by the book kind of guy.
A man of honor.
Yeah.
He plays by the
But
rules.
it's just kind of frustrating as a reader to have this like he's just willy-nilly just doing a bunch of terrible shit over and over and over again and like obvious in plain sight, and it's like, come on, man, like this is ridiculous.
Somebody needs to like hold you accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loken's problem is he doesn't want to do anything about it because he's so concerned with what the Emperor would think of him killing a fellow space marine.
Yeah.
Or-
Well, and
So-
it's like
and-
Astartes don't go against Astartes, you know?
right.
But that
That's
was
not the
Mercedes'
same.
question, right? That was Mercedes' question. Keeler's question. That was Keeler's question when she had a heart-to-heart talk with Loken. She's like, look, I only survived with my sanity because I believe the Emperor has you to protect us. She's like, you keep the bad shit away. And like, so that's what I literally believe, like her faith protected her from the horror, which makes me think like,
Sure.
maybe, just maybe, worshiping the Emperor isn't such a bad idea.
You're a blasphemer.
There's a whole section of like the Battle Sisters, like that's what they don't exist yet at this point in the history, but like that's their whole thing, like they can perform miracles and stuff like that, and it's all by praying to the Emperor. So it is a thing, and she's the first to do it, basically.
Yeah. Which is why she's in a coma right now, I imagine, because
Yeah.
she summoned his power,
Mm-hmm.
and now she's not dead. But
So let's take a step back, right? Like so at this point we know Horus is like the seeds of evil have been planted, right? And so he comes out of the temple and he's all like, I'm good. And they're like, yay! And like that's the part I'm totally flabbergasted by. Like, why? They're all just happy he's alive, right? But like,
Yeah.
the question that Dies posed to me that I was internally sort of like thinking about is that really Horus? Like, is that,
Wow.
or is that,
like you think he could be possessed by something,
or he's got a demon inside his head too? Like,
True.
I don't know, but like, I think from the way Dies phrased it is like, when he's giving his confession, his last words to
Petronella.
Petronella,
Viva.
those were the last words of the real Horus, and from there on, we don't know, right? Like what's in his head. Like when he fucking when they go to that other planet randomly after that, right? Like they're like Horus is like detour, we're gonna go over here, and they just fucking murder these people, like straight up murder them. These people who look so much like them.
Yeah, and that's the last part of the
guards?
book.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like before he gets sucked into the vortex thing?
No.
No. This is where
This is
like
after that.
yeah.
This is like we're back. He's survived. We're back in the real world.
Yeah. Horus is now doing
we
evil
are-
shit.
We're after Davin. We leave Davin and we go to this other planet, where they encounter, what is it, Oretian technocracy?
Yeah. Yeah. They encounter
The
another
other
group
advanced civilization.
that looks a crazy amount just like, so they meet another lost cousins of humans, right? And they look so much like the Astartes that it's like scary. And they show up and they're like, whoa, this is weird. And like the guy that's leading them is like, he goes to like essentially, almost like bow to Horus, and Horus is like, boom.
Well, he has a staff, and
Right.
they think like, oh my gosh, he's gonna kill me.
Like he's
with his
presenting
staff.
it to Horus, and they're like, and Horus is like, nope, that was a fucking murder device. And they're like, Loken sees the look. Right?
Yeah, I love that Loken figures it out and is like telling her, and you get the perspective of you're being told by, was it Mercy that he's talking to?
Yeah, he's talking to Mercy.
And she's like, no, they tried to assassinate him. Yeah, she's like, they tried to assassinate the War Master, and he's like, no, that didn't happen. They didn't have any ammo in their weapons. They couldn't have fought us. There was nothing like that was ever going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, this was all a setup.
Yeah, but they tried to kill the War Master. He's like, no, they were running away. Like they literally.
He's like,
Horus blasted this dude, and the guards are like, oh fuck, turn, run away, and we just murdered them all.
Yeah, and that's when, like I was talking about earlier, where he can't help but follow orders. That's why he gets screwed over so much, because he's like, she's like, well, what did you do? And he's like, I shot him because I was ordered to.
Right. Like
even though he knew it was the wrong thing to do, he did it anyway.
Yeah.
So like, then it is regular Horus. He's not taken over because he's still
passionately angry.
Yeah, I don't think he's possessed, but I think
he's fueled by this like betrayal and all this stuff.
Well, not chaos yet, because chaos would like give him powers and shit that he doesn't have. But
he's like infected.
But
he's definitely fueled by rage at the least.
It's like he came out of that temple, and instead of having like
with a plan,
an angel on one shoulder and a devil on one, he's got like two devils now, and he's like, they rule. Like, we're doing this. Like, he has no conscience anymore.
Yeah, he's got one side saying, skulls for the skull throne, and the other side, blood for the blood god. Let's go.
Yeah. It's wild. And I don't know if I'm jumping too far ahead. We've been talking for like hours, but the very last section when Horus like tells everybody his master plan, I was like, motherfucker, I saw this coming. I saw this shit coming. Like, you see Horus like trying to like, when shit goes down, you're on my team, right? He's like having that conversation throughout the whole book with different people.
And they're all like, well, what are you talking about? And he's like, you just have to say yes or no.
Yeah, are you on my team?
Yeah, and look at who's not in the room when he goes to do that.
Are you on my team to overthrow the Emperor?
Yeah.
Yeah, he already knows.
He made deals with the Mechanicum. He made deals with like, he obviously had the word bearers on.
That, by the way, that is why they're attacking that planet.
Because they want their...
He needed something to bargain with Mechanicum.
He made a deal with the Mechanicum to get that, because that is like their deal. Their whole drive in life is to find an uncorrupted STC to learn all the past tech. Because it doesn't say that in the book anywhere, but the STCs are basically from the fall, and it's all the previous tech like stored on this device, and they find them randomly scattered throughout the galaxy, but they're almost always corrupted in some way, so they don't ever get all of the information. And this guy's like, I've got one, and it works fine. And they're like get that shit, get it now.
Yeah, that's
I'll
when
pay
Horus
you anything you want.
Boom, we're taking that.
Yeah, so
and
that's why they're there. It
different.
doesn't necessarily have anything to do with him wanting to attack them just to attack them. It's like he wants to have
part of his plan.
He wants to have the Mechanicum in his back pocket,
and he does. At that point, he's like, if we get these things, you're on my team, right? He's like, yep, all right.
Each plan is different and has a different thing, and so it's like, I must collect all the blueprints.
Dies says, in Horus's defense, that's a fairly normal reaction for an Imperial agent being told about an STC. It's like when the U.S. smells oil. Oh, Jesus Christ. You're not wrong. But it's just like,
Well, and then like the sequence of events that happens after is so like obviously it's so in favor of Horus, where it's like the battle lasts for 9 months, and the final
oh
the
my God.
final thing was like they're charging into this courtyard of this. The thing that comes to mind for me is like Lord of the Rings, and when they're like at I can't remember the name of it now, but like
They're
when
charging
they
the gate.
charge,
Yeah.
when they're charging the gate and
Of
stuff like
Mordor.
that. Not Mordor. This is like book 2 or
Yeah.
movie 2. So like then they get ambushed and everything explodes, and then the Primarch is buried. So
Oh,
we're
yeah.
like, oh shit,
Yeah.
that Primarch is just dead or gone.
Was that
and then-
Fulgrim? I can't remember.
Angron.
That was
Angron is buried.
My boy Angron. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who would have
Okay.
surprised?
Oh, yeah.
Who would have been surprised by a guy named Angron jumps out of the ground angry?
Angron.
Oh yeah.
So then Loken and Torghadan charge and slaughter all of these guys. But
Well, no. Well, so they. What happens is Loken and Torghadan see this like thing, and they're like, "This is a death trap. We're gonna fucking die." And Angron's like, "YOLO, bitch!" And he like charges it, and
Yeah.
shit explodes, and he gets buried. And then like fucking at that point, they're like, "Well, Primarch down. We gotta fucking charge in now." And so they do charge in. They win that battle, and they're like, "Okay, do y'all surrender?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then Angron pops out like, "Fuck you!" Bam, 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 bam. Just fucking starts killing shit.
I'm
like,
still alive.
yeah. Angron's like,
YOLO.
"I'm back, bitch." She's like busts out of it like the Kool-Aid man and fucks
And
everything
how
up.
convenient that
The Kool-Aid.
Vivarys, the one person who is like, we need to have justice for what happened on the embarkation deck with all the murdered civilians, just conveniently is caught in those crossfires.
Yeah.
Yeah, convenient. We didn't touch on that earlier. I don't think.
No, we
Well-
didn't talk about Vivarys being the one.
Them going after
thorn in
him and
Horus' side, yeah.
him and
Sure, we didn't really
Enderman.
talk
Is that
about
right?
him.
No.
No,
Ignace.
Arcassi.
Ignace.
Carcassy, yeah.
They went
Oh
after
yeah,
Ignace.
Carcassy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he-
essentially,
Yeah.
the
He's in
that
on the
happens-
poetry
That
now.
happens before this battle happens when they're
Well-
like, "Hey, we got to take care of these."
Yeah.
This is when it jumps back and forth a lot between different things.
yeah.
At this
Horus
point
is
in the
like,
book.
"I'll take care of it. No big deal." And then they both, That was really hard. Like
That was
part-
a really, when Maggard, who doesn't speak, pretty much is like, here, I'm going to show you your suicide note and then kill you.
Toast.
Yeah. I liked Ignace a lot. That was really hard to read. Like
Yeah.
he read it. He's like, "These are my words, but these aren't my words." He's like, "Oh shit." And he looks at him and like, "That's it. You're dead."
Yeah.
Yeah. He knew immediately. He's like, "These are my words, but oh shit. I know what
Yeah.
this means."
I'm dying.
That's
means
why I
that
wrote
it-
down.
Go ahead.
That's why I wrote down Maggard murders Ignis? Question mark? Exclamation
pissed
mark?
me
I was
off
like,
so
what?
much.
Yeah. Well,
That made me so angry.
Ignace. So Maggard would do anything for Horus. He worships Horus.
Well,
right?
he finally gets the recognition that he has never received from
Right.
Yeah.
anyone.
Horus doesn't treat him like a slave. Horus treats him
No.
like a
Like a
warrior.
A man.
Yep.
Yeah.
It-
Like a
it even
warrior.
welcomes him into the secret group, right? Like he gets him
Yeah.
into there too. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna bring you somebody who's not an Astartes." And they're like, even the lodge master's like, "Hold up." And he's like, "I thought anybody was welcome." I was like, "Oh shit." Now the War Master is manipulating the secret lodge like this fucking shark jump. We're done.
The lodge is over.
Oh, no.
I don't know, man. This
Yeah,
like,
but I only wanted to jump back to that because he dies. The other guy, Vivar or whatever his name is.
yeah.
Magar?
No,
Oh,
Magar, that's
Vivaris.
it. Vivaris, yeah, is killed during all this, and it looks like he just dies when Angron goes angry man. But later, or like the next scene, basically, who is it? Is it Targaryen that brings Loken the bullet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, our
He's like-
our guys went over this. This is our bullet. Like we did this. Somebody did this.
Center mass, one of our bullets. Mm.
Yeah, this was an aimed shot. This was an assassination meant to look like an accident. Which we don't ever know who did it. They don't ever tell you anything about it other than just pointing out that it's exactly. But clearly wasn't just anybody. Somebody who knows what's going on did it.
Somebody
But Horus
wanted him dead.
Horus wasn't there. And I'm trying to think who else was there that would know what's going on.
I mean, like, I
be a
think
part
all
of
the
that
legions
plan.
were there. The whole, like, the spear tip was there to take back to get those machines, right? So I'm thinking it was everybody, right? Like Loken and Tarek are there. The other guys in the Mournival were there. They were all there. They were talked about. Everybody was.
Did they mention them?
No, but I'm sure they were there. Like, that's the whole. Like, you got a Primarch. You got all these like people.
I'm
there.
sure at this point too, wouldn't Horus have shared something with I don't know why. I'm assuming Angron is the one who killed him, but now I'm like, oh, maybe not.
No, I don't think so. I
No.
think
so.
Go ahead.
I don't. So, yeah, I don't know. It's somebody who was part of that previous meeting where he's like, "Hey, you're with me, right?" Was clearly there.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know who specifically because they don't say.
Die says Angron no use bolter.
No, Angron uses chain axes.
If he was a gore pile rendered down with chain weapons, that's Angron. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure it could have been fucking Erebus. Like just like hanging out like boop, problem solved.
Yeah. Angron is just like the personification of blood rage. I'm pretty sure at one point they even said he doesn't wear armor. He wears like gladiatorial armor, not real Astartes armor.
He wears rage.
He wears rage.
Yeah. And so
he wears like golden gladiatorial armor or something like that, and not typical Astartes power armor.
All right. What is there anything else anybody wants to touch on? Because we're pushing 2 hours.
Oh, and then Petronella gets murdered, but like I don't care because I hate her. So.
Yeah, but still, that was a little whack because like she knew too much because he told her too much on his deathbed. But I don't know.
Yep.
That was I thought that was a little whack.
She just knows too much, and you can't have if you're gonna kill the emperor, you can't have somebody like knowing all your business. Apparently, he revealed too much to her when he was on his deathbed. Is why he
we don't know what it was
Yeah.
he feels like is too much, but he enlightened her.
Yeah, he illuminated her.
Or illuminated, yeah.
Yeah.
Still, he
chose. He's
to-
like, it's so
chose
fucked
to
up.
tell her all those things, so it's a little messed
Well,
up.
he thought he was
I thought that was a little
dying.
whack. Still, though.
And that's the other part that kind of like makes you question it all, because he was bearing his soul to her.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously he felt like a connection. He was gonna like, she was gonna tell his story. He was gonna die. It was gonna be over. And then like later he's like, you know too much. You got to die. And
You're gonna have to die a little bit.
that's rough, right? Like, I don't know, man.
I guess I was kind of surprised by her death, but I definitely was more like affected emotionally by Ignace, whatever.
Ignace, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took that one way harder. I agree. When she died, I was just like, whatever. I don't really like her anyway. She was a bitch.
Yeah, she's terrible.
So
they like at one point try to make her seem like somebody you should probably start to try to like, and then they just immediately are just like, no, just kidding.
Like, yeah, she was drunk in a bar in like, well, I guess like the Remembrance Hall or whatever, and just like bearing her shit, and like Ignace was there and actually like listened to her and talked to her for a bit. Like I thought that was a moment where like, okay, she's a human being. She's, you know, this shit's crazy. And then like they're both just gone. It's like done. Man, this is not a universe I want to live in. I just want to be clear. All right, I want to take a quick poll among the folks here. All right, we have many more books right in this series, but we're only planning on going through a couple more. Do you think? Now, be quiet, V8, and be quiet, Dies, and anybody else who knows shit, don't say anything, because if you know, you're not part of the poll. Do you think Loken survives this hellish future that is unfolding around him? Do you think Torgadden survives? Like, those are my two, like, I want these two guys to like live, but I honestly don't see how either of them get out of this alive.
I don't think I think they make it through book 4. I think if we're going to read through book 4, I believe they do. Okay.
Yeah, that's we're going to go through book 4, right, Annie?
Yeah.
I cannot say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think they can survive.
Well,
like
eventually, yeah, they have to.
So, somebody, I don't remember who it was, like alluded to Loken's like future prospects, but like we've never talked about Torgadden, Tarek's prospects, and I'm like, these are two guys that I really like. I actually really liked Axeman too, but I don't see a future for him. So like at this point,
I'm the one that brought up the Loken stuff, and I will not rehash it.
Thank you. But like I'm as you pointed out in a conversation with me, V8, like Nero Vipus is like very absent from this book, even though he could have been a very central figure in some of these things that happened. He's only there in like a couple of conversations.
Yeah, I feel like, because just us trying to figure out that one question that we were trying to figure out, I feel like the author completely forgot that he's part of the Lodge and he's part of all these other things because he didn't write the first book. And I think he was so concerned with the overall thing, or the overarching story and all that stuff, that he just completely forgot about that fact. And so he's not used nearly as much as he should have been.
Yeah. I mean, in this book, Horus essentially dies and comes back. Like, that's a pretty big thing.
There's a lot of other important things going on.
Yeah, it's fair to forget about a character or two.
Speaking of forgetting about a character, before we get too far into the next thing, Fulgrim showed up before that stuff happened.
Yeah, he makes like a small visit.
And he makes a small visit. He's there on purpose because Erebus wants him to take the sword to Terra, because he's getting sent to Terra.
Yep.
And he sees the anatheme.
He's
leaving.
He has it.
He has it. He has it on his hip.
Erebus,
Loken spots it, and he's like,
"Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying."
Shit.
Loken, as they're leaving, Loken is like, "What is that I see?" But it's already too late.
Yeah.
And so Erebus arranged that to happen because Fulgrim is being sent back to Terra. So by giving him the blade, he can then arrange for it to be on Terra, which is where he wants it to be for what happens later.
Right. That's Lucius's Primarch, by the way. Yeah. The Emperor's children.
Love swords.
They do. Fuck, I hate Lucius too. All right.
I was reading overall, people did not enjoy the second book versus like the first one and the third and the fourth. But like, I kind of enjoyed this one. Like, I thought I enjoyed it more, I think. Scenes, like that really got me like disgusted, and like, I don't know. I thought I didn't really well done.
Find it that dry. Like the beginning, just a little bit, like part 1, but I thought it was really interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was really invested.
I loved it.
Me too.
Yeah,
I
don't.
Right, so that's why I was surprised. Although I guess once we get into 3, maybe we'll be like, "Holy shit, 2 is garbage."
That's what I was gonna say. Maybe those are coming from people who've read further into the story. So maybe later on, thinking back, they're like, "Yeah, that book sucked compared to these ones."
I
Well, the
definitely
first-
liked it more than the first one.
The first one was more introductions, so that's why I like the second
Yeah.
one more. Because we kind of like know a little bit more, and then more shit hits the fan in the second one. So
We only
I-
lost
being able
sight
to
of
talk
one
more freely.
character.
There was a lot of character building in the first one for sure.
Yeah.
And like, I was kind of into that. I really enjoyed getting to know like all the different characters and seeing the people from different different legions getting along, whatever, like the Emperor's Children getting along with the Luna Wolves. Like there was a lot of really cool like meetings and people getting to know each other. And I think it's setting up for some major events to happen in the future. Like we've in this book, we saw Loken lose a fight to Lucius, right? Like, whereas in the first book, we saw Loken fucking take Lucius down a peg. So, and they allude to a future fight, right? A third bout, whatever. Like, I think we're about to see a lot of really cool shit in the next couple books.
sure.
Yeah. Like, because this book 2 is essentially like set up for the big shit,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yep. All right. Any closing thoughts? I mean, we've already been
Erebus
having
is
some.
a bitch.
That's just a fact. That's not a closing thought.
I think it's like I am still thoroughly enjoying it, even though like this whole kind of like series and everything wouldn't be something that I would normally like go to like Barnes and Noble and be like, oh yeah, Warhammer, cool. I'd most likely be like, you're reading Warhammer, you nerd. But you know, much to my own chagrin, like I'm really enjoying it.
And now you're
Yeah,
painting.
it kind of.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it does the new fantasy kind of thing where it's a bunch of words and nomenclature that you're unfamiliar with, and you're just kind of thrown into it.
Yeah,
And-
like you kind of like I want to say like you can't ask questions, you just have to accept what's happening, kind of thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
I just
This,
have to like, okay, sure, that's how you refer to this, and that's how you refer to that. Okay, cool. Like,
but
just
usually that kicks me out because like I don't care what the Schmorgenborg is doing with the boob, you know, like I don't know any of this stuff. But
I don't care that you
I-
call your money simoleons. I'm gonna call it dollars.
I do think that this series found good authors to at least construct really engaging narratives and story arcs of characters so far, you know, because we've grown connections over 2 books and lost characters at the end of this one, and that's not an easy thing to do. So they do a really good job of bringing you into this incredibly dense world that normally I would get thrown off of and I'm bored with.
Quit.
But
Yeah.
it's quite engaging, and I think that that's really nice that they managed to do that.
That was going to be my next question for you, Squandy. How did you get hooked into these books? Like, did you say that earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super random. I just saw a gaming journalist on vacation, took a picture, and there was 2 books on the table, and it was False Gods and the next one. And I just liked the cover. I was like, what books are they reading? And I looked them up, and I was like, I don't know anything about 40K, but or Warhammer, and yeah, I just kind of like, we have like 9 Audible tokens because we pay for Audible and never use it, and so I just like boop boop got them and read them, and then happened to get into your stream that night, and you were reading False Gods, and I had just finished it, so I reread it or re-listened to it for this.
That's
Love
really
it.
cool.
Just super
That's
random.
awesome. Yeah, 40K. That's the problem with coming into a like fantasy realm 40 years late. Is there's so much lore built up from so many different sources that it's like, where do you even start at this point?
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to do this specific thing, because you can literally just pick a topic and go on a tangent with so many books and so many lore videos and things in this universe that I was like, okay, well, I know a lot of general things. I want to like actually focus on something. and I was like, the Horus Heresy is like a huge thing that everybody seems to know about, but I don't know too much about because I've never bothered to watch more than like a 30-minute summary of it. I was like, I'm gonna read these books.
It's
Here
such
we
an
are.
interesting thing too that we like found this community because like Eddie has been painting these minis for ages. Like here's one of Eddie's.
Holy
Oh, cool.
moly.
That's good.
So the guy's been into Warhammer for a long time.
Does Eddie play?
And then he doesn't play.
He just paints.
We're just painters. Yeah, we're just painters over here. So he had been saying like you should read the books, and then I finally did. And then in the Complex Discord, there's a 40K section, and so it's mostly just dive and me showing off our paintings. Which is fun. But then the book club came about and other people are like, "Oh yeah, you should read the books." And there's just some people that came out of the woodwork and I was just like, "Wait, you've heard of this?" Like
Nope.
Yeah,
who would
that's
have
how I
thought
felt.
Yeah, who would have thought that Telos was like
Oh yeah.
also like kind of an expert on this stuff?
Yeah, I don't remember where I mentioned it, but I was just like, I think I'm gonna start reading the Horus Heresy, and somebody was like, "Oh, I love 40K stuff," and then you were like, "I paint 40K stuff," and I'm like, "Wait,
Yeah.
why? I didn't know all these people knew what was going on."
It's all these people that you don't think, or just like, oh, I'm surprised that you're into this. So I think it's really cool that we found this little community where we're all exploring the universe and finding the lore, and we're able to do it together, because if I was trying to do this by myself, I'd be so confused.
Sure. And
Well,
I am
commit
still a
out
little
of confusion.
confused, but
Thank
less
you, everybody.
so.
I think we're like, we've actually, like you said, we've got a nice community going around this. We're gonna keep reading these books. We've got I've got the next book on the shelf behind me. I've got the audio books, so I'm very excited to get into book 3.
Can you show the next one? If it's on the
Uh,
shelf behind you, can
Yeah,
you
sure.
choose?
Hold it up.
Yes, I
Hold
can.
it up to the screen.
What's it called?
Galaxy in Flames.
Galaxy in Flames.
I like the
Yeah.
title Galaxy in Flames. Oh boy.
Nice.
Yep.
It's gonna hit the fan next.
Yeah, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be. I think we're
Oh, no,
building
your
up.
camera's flipped.
Yeah.
You can
See,
read
that's really.
backwards.
If you look at it on stream, it looks okay. But yes, at least it did to me. My brain is reverse, anyways. It's been a heck of a week. But anyways, thanks
Yeah,
everybody for
we
being here.
will- Yeah.
We'll put out the next date.
What a setup. You can really start to feel the gravity of what's about to happen in the next one. Book 3, Galaxy in Flames by Ben Counter, will be our focus for November. Please join us at twitch.tv/Gendrid November 17th. Linked in the comments. For more updates, you can also follow me on all socials. Thank you for being here.